Okay, so we have tidied up a little bit. Got everything we need for the first stage, with the exception of opening this one last box. So let's open this one. Right, here we go. So, oh, this makes sense. Yep, the one thing I'd forgotten about, controller unit. So in this box is what controls the, it's all the electronics. So on the 3018, you have a little board that's strapped to the back of the gantry itself. On this one, you actually have a much more professional style controller board, which actually has your XYZ motors in there as well. So that's quite good. Also your voltage switch within there. So what they've done is they've packaged up your motor drivers, your controller board and your power supply all into one unit, all nice for you, as well as a separate spindle control. So that's quite common as well, especially as you move up from hobbyist machines like the 3018 to going towards bigger machines. This I'd still count as a small hobby machine. Even, to be fair, the meter by meter ones are, because you can go up to big brands like BSE, Morbidelli, and they go huge industrial size stuff. I'm hoping to be able to cut brass on this. This is the reason I got this. I want to be cutting brass and doing various different things on this that I can't do quickly on the 3018. I also want to see if I can speed up my 3D carves as well, and do slightly larger sized items. So that's the reason for getting this. I am going to start. Okay, so the instructions say make sure you get your motors right. They've called this the Y bed. The reason being is this axis that rocks here and here is the Y. It's got the two motors. Make sure you've got your Y1, Y2 motors. I don't believe it would make any difference which order you put them in, because they are just motors at the end of the day. This is a spacer typically for your motor. Couplers, so they attach to your actual your rails here. Rails, brain's not working. To your screws, to your lead screws. So they attach there, and they attach via a nut, an Allen key there. So the first step is to connect those, and there is two identical screws which are M5s. One is a 55mm and one is a 50. Make sure you get the right one. The instructions say clearly use the 50mm. There is 8 of them, there is 4 of the other. Make sure you go with that. So we can see it, I'm going to flip it round, and I'm going to do it from that side so we can see on camera. So let's spin it around. Okay, there. Alright, so what it's saying is this bit basically goes there, the motor goes on and the screws go in, but before you do that, it says to make sure you attach your couplers. So they are going to be a small, yeah, okay, so we're talking about this Allen key here. We call them Allen keys. I'm not sure if they're called something different in the US. So let's tighten them up, because we know our spanners are called wrenches in other places. So right, oh, so that's not tight enough on there. Let's get it a bit tighter. Just spinning it round. I've given it a little, no, so that's not, is the two different, is one side bigger than the other? Let's check. It's not biting. That's bit. No, that hasn't actually bit very well. Not sure I like that one. Right, so some people recommending popping some Loctite. Oh, that's okay, so let's go with that one. Some people recommend popping some Loctite on some of these things to stop them slipping. But especially to start with, that's not something I'm going to be doing. Okay, so that's got more of a grip in it, so I wonder if they are different sizes. That isn't actually even going on there. Maybe because it's too tight. Oh, and there's a grub screw the other side that needs tightening. Okie dokie. Let's spin that grub screw out a little bit. Still having some issues. Alright, spin that grub screw in. Spin that in. Just keep going. That is as tight as it's going to go. Oh, that's a little bit nice. I think I'm going to need to get another Allen key that doesn't come with it just to tag that grub screw. Oh no, it's pinched. Just me not tightening it enough. Let's give it. Maybe that's why we've got some of the longer Allen keys this time, just to put a little bit more pressure on it. Okay. There we go. Okay. Yep. I can get a little bit more pressure on it with the longer section of the Allen key. Okay, so the next part is to chuck your motors on. I'm not really sure if there is a way up for it. Let's take a quick look at the instructions. Typically the wire, you kind of want that hidden a little bit. Okay, it's saying the wire can go on the inside. So what we're going to do is it's going to go like that. Okay, so you're going to get it in like that. So I'm going to preload 4. Just check I've got it the right way around. Yep, 4 of these. 1, 2, 3. Drop my 4th in. So drop those in, as you can see, like that. It's a simple way to do it. Pop them in there. Okay, you need to align it. And this is going to be a very hard one to see. So that your end here goes into there. So let's start tightening this up so it does it itself. Okay, so this is sticking out quite a reasonable distance. I'm just going to go diagonal when I tighten these up. Okay, so this one here, this one down here. Back up to this one. Just make sure it's square. Okay, now one thing it does recommend when you get the machine is that you check that it is fully square when it comes out of the box. That is something very important to do, and it recommends using a set square for this. Unfortunately, I don't have a set square to hand. My set square is in the workshop rather than in the studio, so I'm not quite able to get to that. So I'm going to tighten them up now. Just a little bit at a time. So I went diagonal just to check it's nice and square, and now I'm quite happy with it. I'm just, see, that's nice and loose, that one. Okay, so let's tighten that up as I apply pressure to the others. Let's get that just tightened. Okay, So that isn't the one done because in here, okay, is the nut I need to tighten. Okay, now I really want you to be able to see this, so we're going to have to probably get the other camera on this so we can see this. So what we're going to show here, okay, this will be a little bit awkward to show, is if we take a look in here, I need to be able to tighten this area here. Okay, and if you can't quite see the nut, you see how I can move this. Okay, I can just slide it, and that is actually spinning in there. Okay, so I'm going to move it there, bit far, keep going, and there. Okay, oh, come back a bit. Okay, there. Okay, so now I can tighten this here. Okay, so now we're going to tighten this. Okay, and a way to check that it's working is if I move this. This at the end here, just spin it, it's checking it's working. And I'm just going to give it another little tighten. Pop there. And a bit of a tighten there too. Okay, so I know it's working by doing this. Okay, so that's kind of what I want. So I'm now going to move it over to the other side itself and see how we get on with that. Okay, let's come around the back. And let's move to this side. So exactly the same process again. We need that, we need our 4 screws, and we need our coupler. So we know our coupler is on there already because it's moving. So now we need this, which is that way, this, which is that way, and then our screws. So rather than trying to make it awkward for myself, I take the 4 screws and 1, 2, 3, and a 4. Okay, so 4 of those bad boys in, which means as long as, oh, I've dropped one of those out. Okay, as long as that is loose enough and I get my alignment correct, I've got to check which has happened. That's not too painful at all. Make sure I change to my correct Allen key. And tighten that one up just enough. Okay. Need to get it square. I'm going to go diagonal down here. Same as kind of what you do with car tyres to make sure things are square when you actually put them on. If anybody actually puts car tyres on and off anymore, or they just call somebody to do it for them. Okay, so diagonal there. Just squaring it up, diagonal here. Right. And just tighten them back up. Okay, so in theory, they're square, they're in place. Okay, and I'm going to use the full force of the tool to just tighten it till there's a little creak. Diagonal. And good stuff. Okay, next stage of the booklet. Okay, so we have moved on to finishing the assembly of the base. The first page was relatively simple, and now it's about basically putting these in place and our spoil board there as well. So it's got an MDF spoil board, which does have two different directions. Okay, so what you want is you want the top with these nuts facing up, because they're what you're going to screw your clamps into. And then you want these, which are the dust shields, that go on there. Okay, so that is actually going to be your bed. Okay, so we need to put these down. So something to be careful of again, I'm not sure, oh there we go, is M5 16mm and M5 20mm. So the instructions do state it quite clearly, but it says that you need 4 of your 16mm, and that is to put down the dust shield baffle, they're calling it, dust baffle. So you need 4 of those, and down here on each side is a little hole. I believe it's the bigger key again. I'm not going to do it too tight because these have got a space to actually move, so you can move it closer or further away from the board itself. Okay, so I am not going to tighten them up too much, but I'm going to align them because the board is really going to be now, the board itself is just kind of the baseboard, like on the 3018s where it's metal and it moves. It doesn't move on this one, it's a static board itself. So the board will stay still. It means we can fix another board to it, a waste board, I'll tighten that, or a sacrificial board, which will give us a true flat surface. So what I would be doing is I would stick on some plywood or some MDF. I really hate cutting MDF because it is not good for you at all. So I'd probably use a plywood and then just skim the top of it. Oh, they're the wrong ones. So they're the ones I was using previously as a spoil board, and that way I can get my true fixings onto my workpiece. That's really to make sure it's flat and for cutting through as well, so I don't ruin this board. Although I believe I could probably make this board very, very quickly myself. So it was the 20mm screws, I believe. Yeah, the 20mm screws. They don't look like they're going to be a good fit, I've got to say. Is that right, Sainsmart? Oh, yeah, no, they go through there. It might take a little bit of digging, and I'm wondering if you have to bury it below the surface. I say that. Doesn't look a great fit, I've got to say. Okay, why? Why is because I was wrong. I was totally wrong. It is the other way up. Alright, I'm used to them being the opposite way round on machines. That is my fault, and that's pretty obvious. Now, it actually counter sits in there. So, I mean, the advantage is I could skim this to make sure it's flat. So that's a positive to that. Let's drop all these in. That'll help make sure that it's square. Okay. This is pretty cool. Drop that in there. And drop that in there. And drop that in there. Okay. Hopefully. Again, I'll just spin that in. Spin that in. Yep. Okay, good. And do exactly the same here. So, the trick is just go around, tighten them slightly each one. Pretty typical. Then I'm going to slide the baffles in towards it once it's in place, and then tighten them up as well. So I'm kind of enjoying putting this machine together. Again, it's got that lovely colour from Sainsmart, that nice blue colour. It feels pretty solid. Until I run it, I can really say if there's anything that I dislike. Would I do anything different right now? I'd probably have a T-slot bed, something quite sturdy. Again, something sort of an aluminium extrusion. But how solid the rest of the base seems to be, and the fact it's put together for me already, is a winner. That's the one thing with the Sainsmart machines, is that there's a lot of the pieces already put together for you, so you don't have to do it. I am so glad in this model they put together the limit switches, because that was my hardest and biggest job for me to do with the prover in that. So this is quite good. Right, so as I say, I'm sliding those baffles in tight to it. Going to hold it and loose tighten that one. Loosely tighten that one. Okay, and just flip that around. Oh, listen to that creak. Alright, maybe over tighten that slightly. Okay. Nice. Okay. I'll try and pull them back, and I can't, so that's nice and solid. So that is finishing your Y assembly. Now I believe I've got to lift this heavy beast off here to take a look at my gantry. So 2.3 is the gantry. So let's get this off the table and bring in the gantry.